That's fine.
That's okay.
Not the most professional of radio stations.
Oh,
We're trying.
it's okay.
We're trying.
Let's go like this.
We're the alternative station.
Oh,
so
please.
we, I just walk out of bed.
This is luxurious compared to some of the like
other places where we're like
garage-based-
this.
Yeah,
You're pretty
Like,
close
really
though.
close.
You are pretty close at
Kinda
this moment.
close.
we're
so
used
that's
to.
kinda cool.
When you live on a bus, you got to be used to
Wipe each other's
living close.
noses.
Yeah.
It's
That's kind of happening now though, right? Because the new album's coming out soon, and you're about to go on tour, and
Yes,
Yeah.
back at it.
and you're here now. Your second album, that's pretty exciting. What's up with it? When is it coming out again?
May 7th.
May 7th on Atlantic on Elektra. And
Which is a label again. That's kind of cool.
it's super
It is
cool.
Very
They-
cool.
You know, the history of Elektra kind of works perfectly for what our band is all about. And, you know, the other sort of marquee acts on there, CeeLo, Bruno. I mean, it's kind of
It's really good.
Back in the
exciting to be
day,
associated with all that.
my dad used to work at Elektra, like back in the day, in like the early '90s, and he worked the Metallica Black album.
Nice.
And I mean, they're not as good as Radiohead or anything, but I like Metallica. They're,
Hey,
I
Enter
interned
Sandman,
there
come
for
on.
a few years in college, actually, for
Did
like
you?
a year or so at Atlantic. Yeah, and one of the records I was in the publicity department. We worked Kid Rock.
Ooh,
It was
I'm
like
sorry.
I got to meet him. He's so sweet.
He
He's
actually
like
is
the
a nice
nicest
guy.
guy, dude.
Yeah.
He's like the nicest guy.
No,
you know?
he's cool. He doesn't make music as good as you guys, though.
Aw,
Thanks.
thank
We had you. I say we. I work at a club in San Francisco called Pop Scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we had you. What year? We had like 07.
Well, we
Yeah,
were
we
just
discussing
talking with
that, yeah.
Aaron.
I think 2009.
Wait a minute. You were just talking to Aaron Axelson and you talked about Pop Scene. That's weird. That doesn't happen.
I
so
know,
strange.
it's such a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. You know, he invited us up there very early days in the band. You know, we drove all night in the van to get there. We played the show and literally packed up our stuff and drove all night to get back to LA by the morning because everyone had to get to their day jobs. But Aaron, you know, has been such a huge supporter, and that was such a fun show for us. And kind of one of our first entries into San Francisco and the Bay Area.
I remember that show. I think that was your first show here.
That was our
it-
first show there, yeah.
It was.
And
It was.
and it was one of those things where a few months go by and all of a sudden you guys totally blew up. You're selling out shows at the Regency. You had a really good spot at Outside Lands
Yeah.
Yeah.
last year. What was that like, playing Outside Lands?
Well, you know, we've been
It was
lucky. I
fun,
think
yeah.
I don't know why, but people think that we're worthy of playing on the main stage. So we've been getting, you know, almost every show, every festival we've done, from Lollapalooza to Coachella to Outside Lands, they've given us these amazing opportunities to be on the main stage at a great time and be in front of people. I think part of the thing is that we try and put on a knockdown, drag out, hot, sweaty mess dance party of a show.
Mhm.
We're really about engaging with the audience.
With any kind of crowd.
Yeah,
like any
sure.
crowd. It doesn't matter.
And I think, you know, ultimately that just lends itself to like people believing in us and taking a chance of putting us on the main stage. And Outside Lands, we were just talking about how cold was it?
Freezing.
It was,
It was freezing.
We
It
woke
was
up
very-
in our hotel and
yeah.
it was like 85 here in
Surprising.
San Francisco, and then we went there and it was 55, and none of us were prepared. But I'm sure you Bay Area people know that.
No, we know all about that. Yeah, I'll wake up in the Mission and it's I don't know, like 75, and I come to
All right, because the Mission's the sunny side,
sunny
right?
side.
it is the sunny
Quote
side, yeah.
unquote.
Yeah, it's a little
I mean,
closer
we
to the
grew up
south.
in LA, so there's a difference of sunny side.
What is that?
It's like
Well,
95.
it's 95
Oh,
degrees.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And really muggy and the...
Smoggy.
And if we get
It's
too many
smoggy.
days of rain, no one knows what to do with themselves. It's yeah.
I heard about that. It was raining
Yeah.
like a month ago for like a
For
day.
like a week. No,
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
like
and they're like
7
breaking
days.
news on the news
And it
channels.
was
It's like a
39
close-up of a
degrees.
gutter.
It was crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it rains here quite a bit, and that's fine. We're okay with that. Although
I
it actually
love the
hasn't rained in quite a while. Luckily, we haven't had rain at Outside Lands yet. I don't think. We may
No,
have
but
one.
it was so foggy you could literally have cut that fog the day we played with a knife. I mean, it was like thick, misty fog.
That was like some Gorilla Monsoon stuff
It
you were
was.
just saying right there. He's an old wrestling announcer. He'd always say that. The Ultimate Warrior would come out. You can cut the electricity with a knife, is what he would say, but not so much fog. I think the reason why you guys are always on the main stage and you're doing so well, and you're talking about festivals and even kind of expanding that into like radio, like you're over here at the alternative station, but you're also going to be touring with Bruno Mars soon and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I think the kind of music you guys make really lends itself to all kinds of different styles of music.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think ultimately, you know, we've never tried to limit ourselves in terms of what influences us. And, you know, there's 6 of us in the band, and we all have very diverse tastes, and we kind of let all of those different influences feed themselves into the record. And we're
Yeah.
really trying to make a hybrid sound of something that's truly our own. And I feel like this second record is a real sort of flag planted in the ground about that sort of thing where we're creating our own sound here right now.
What are some of the influences that you have that you're talking about?
Well, I mean, you know, we all listen to different. I'm a big kind of alternative and electronic kind of listener. I listen to soul stuff and everything. So it's just kind of like a blend of things that happens in your mind over time. You listen to, you know, you're listening to Radiohead, and then you're listening to Nas, or you're listening to all of these different
or
kind
Major
of
Lazer.
Yeah, and that, you know, becomes part of your process in some form. You know, whether it's the rhythmic patterns on the drums being very kind of like hip hop based and very simple, and then you're adding these like 80s based like synth sounds and experimenting with different methods of recording. It comes out naturally in most people that listen to music on a regular basis.
Yeah,
and,
I think ultimately, you know, you're not, when you're making music, you're not thinking, what are my
What are we gonna
influences? You're
do?
just making, I think for us, the goal on this record was one, that there were no rules. We could never say to each other in the band, this doesn't sound like you. And making the record, the second sort of thing was we wanted to make a record that got us off. And hopefully if we were excited about us, then no matter what we did, our fans would be excited too and follow us in these kind of newer directions that we're headed.
Well, if Out of My League is any indication of what the rest of the album sounds like, I think you're going to be fine. I think it's going to be great.
Thank
It's
you.
going to be okay.
Thank
It's going to be
you.
fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I know, I mean, my opinion of them, I know. The song is great. I mean, we've been playing it, we put it right in. Sherry brought it and played it for us, and we're like, let's put that on the radio, like, right now. And we've
Thank you.
been
Thank
playing
you.
it ever since.
Thank you very much.
We asked artists like yourself sometimes to send us little drops of what the song's about, and then we play them over the song when we play them. You mentioned that it's about growing up and about girls that were out of your league or something like that. Can you talk about what the song's about?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, I think everybody's had that experience in their life where you're crushing on somebody that's just maybe a little bit unattainable, whether it's true or not. They're sort of out of your reach, and ultimately, you know, it's a song to that sort of
It's
person.
about winning. It's basically about finding the person of your dreams and it being unbelievable. You know, it could be the 10, yes, but then you guys meet on this amazing playing field. When you find that, it's amazing. It could be in any situation. It could be your dog. You found the perfect dog, and wow, this dog loves you. It's awesome. You know, like it's that overwhelming emotion of like, wow, this is really happening to me. It's our career. You know, for me, this is
what you do
that's
now.
what that song is about. Yeah.
There's no day jobs now happening. You
Yeah,
don't gotta go back to
exactly.
LA and make a shift now. I mean, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Playing festivals and stuff and playing shows. I mentioned Bruno Mars earlier. I don't know much about Bruno Mars. I know a couple of his songs, obviously, because you can't really escape them. But I've seen him on a lot of award shows, and he's great.
Oh,
He's
man,
amazing.
He's an amazing performer.
I mean,
amazing dude.
He's great. I mean, and I think it's going to be arenas, and these are going to be like big halls. I mean, what are you expecting, and what are you looking forward to for this tour coming up?
I mean, I think for us, we're all fans of him, and for us, it's such an amazing opportunity to go and play in front of 10, 15,000 people a night, and really sort of stretch the reach of letting people know about our music and what we do. And we kind of have always thrived on the sort of going to a room full of people that may not know who we are and just doing our best to try and win them over, you know, and blowing their minds right out the gate. You know, early days we got to open up for Maroon 5. You know, very similar circumstance, like big spaces. We were a new band. We had played maybe 15 shows, and just going in there and winning people over, you know. And that to me is the most exciting part, is playing in front of like new people.
How do you be a band and you've only played 15 shows and already you're on tour with Maroon 5? How did that happen?
It's magic.
there's a lot of people who are,
I mean, she
a
could
lot
tell
of
you the
timing.
story.
I mean, like, it was basically one of these, you know, happenings, you know. Adam just
Serendipity.
happens to be in a tattoo parlor,
Okay.
you know, getting his tattoo done in New York, and his tattoo artist heard our music, who bought the EP, and was playing it in his tattoo shop. And Adam's like, what is this? You know, next thing we know, we see like a tweet from Adam saying Fitz in the Tantrums, Breaking the Chains, the new, like, you know, he's like loving it. And I think it was like maybe like a couple months later,
No, a couple
like a
weeks
week later, we get a phone call. They wanted us to do their college tour with them, and we were like, okay, that's great. So we're literally chasing down, but you know, like they're on a bus, and we're still in a Sprinter van.
Yeah.
You know, doing these like shows with them and trying to keep up, and it was such an amazing experience. One, you know, to be on a stage with these guys whose songs we know by heart. Like everybody knows their songs. You know, it's pretty amazing to do that, and then to have this amazing feedback from their crowd. Like they loved us.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, we still have a lot of those fans from those early days of Maroon 5. You know, the Maroon 5 super fans that now are part of our family as well. And the same thing with now announcing that we're going out on tour with Bruno. All these Bruno fans are coming around and checking us out. So.
Yeah. It's really cool.
And it's incredible because, again, your music lends itself to so many different things. I mean, I like hitting on the subject because we're an alternative station. We play Radiohead, we play the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and your music kind of really sounds good, blended with all that stuff.
Thank you.
Love it.
It's great.
That means we can sleep at night.
We can sleep at night.
That's all I'm trying to do right now is to make sure you sleep
very
well at
nervous
night.
process with that song. It is very, very fun.
I love that story about how you got that tour because I get bands. I mean, you know, working at a radio station, there's a lot of local bands who are trying to make it and trying to get on the radio. And how do you do it? How do you get on the radio? How do you go on tour? And it really, the simplest answer I can think of, and I think it's true, is just make good music and
work hard.
And work hard. Yeah.
And play.
You're going to be in a situation at some point where someone who's somebody is going to see you.
And it might not happen in the timeline that you want. You know, it's like, you know, everybody in our band has been doing this for quite some time. And I think we all felt this, like, the theory that when it is your time, it is your time. And we had all busted our butts for many years in other projects and even with this band, and then you get in the right situation with the right music and the right people, because it's really about the six of us. The chemistry, the synergy. The chemistry. And then all of a sudden, everything before felt like a square peg through a round hole, and this like just felt like things were just sort of happening. And then we sprinkled the hardest work we had ever done on top of that. And those two things combined really were the things that pushed it over the edge.
That's excellent. And I think that's really important to kind of give things time and to let things marinate.
Yeah.
And let
because it can be frustrating, you know, in this business when you're not doing something that is necessarily always going to be like a top 40 or always going to be something. You have to kind of like make it your own, and you kind of make people love you, you know, especially when you look at crafting songs, not just like doing like the one hit wonder thing. You know, it's what I love about working with, you know, Fitz as a producer, and as we both look at things in songwriting and the entire band, is that we really like to craft songs that are going to be remembered. You know, like if anything, that's our goal.
Well,
is
it goes
to really
back to what you were saying. You got to start with good music.
You really have to. Yeah.
When you talk about crafting songs, are you looking at, some people make albums that are just a collection of songs that they throw together in an album, or it's like it's an album you're looking at. So when you're making an album, is it like this is going to be a full piece of art, or we'll make a song here and a song there and a song there?
No, I think that was the thing for us. With the first record and with this one, we held the same sort of criteria, was that we had to make an entire album of quality music, a whole journey. I mean, it's rare to get anybody to sit and listen to a whole album these days, but regardless of whether that's happening or not, we wanted a record where every song could stand on its 2 feet, you know, on its own 2 feet, and not be just
a
album
skip through.
filler. You know, and I think that's why the first record did really well, and hopefully why we'll continue with that with this record.
I hear what you're saying with you know, people. It's kind of tougher to get a lot of people to listen to a whole album all the way through these days, but with that, there is this kind of new thing, like with vinyl, and there's a lot of really pure music fans who are out there, who, like, I buy records all the time, so I go to Amoeba and I'll buy, you know, $100 worth of records. Is there any kind of thought put into that, like, as far as the vinyl goes?
Oh, yeah, the sound. Oh,
the sound, and, you know, like, I think for this, when we release the record, the first, I don't know how many copies are going to be a special edition, and the vinyl's going to be hot pink.
Oh, cool.
You know, just trying to, like,
I like that.
You know, really feed into, there's definitely a couple vinyl heads in our band.
Yeah.
Serious crate
I'm looking at
diggers.
you. I'm sensing you're one of them.
I grew up with records all over my house. My dad was a DJ.
Yeah.
John is a record. So pretty much everybody in the band is like in the record store.
So
spending all of
for
their
us,
money.
it's obviously like super important to be a part of that conversation. And I love it, because you work so hard on the album artwork and everything, and then it's literally the size of a postage stamp on iTunes.
Yeah.
So for us, the first
You can't
record,
read it,
when you saw it in the vinyl format, like the artwork full-fledged, and with this record, it's like to be able to look at this new record and see more than just a dream, all this artwork we did in vinyl, plus it's specialty vinyl.
Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting day.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you put all that time into it, because I am a little worried that as time goes on, there's going to be these generations who just look at their iPod or they look at the computer and that's how they listen to music.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that more bands continue to do what you're doing, and maybe that'll inspire.
I think they will, because I think most people. I mean, you're even looking at cassette tapes. People missing that quality of the sound of the cassette or whatever. It's
Sure.
Well, that's the new ultimate
ultimate
hipster. It's
hipster
like, I'm
thing.
only releasing my new songs on cassette tape.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
There was a band on Merge, I think like Red Cross or something. They sent us a single.
A casingo?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. That's what you call it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. And
You're like, how do you play this?
I do. Luckily, I have a thing over there, but
you actually do still have
awesome.
one.
Yeah.
But I think when people are exposed, like I was listening to an interview with Dave Grohl recently, and he was talking about how he bought the Beatles vinyl box set and gave it to his daughter, who's, I don't know, like 6 years old or something, and she freaked out over it. He's like, "What? How does this work?" And you put the thing on, and so I think as long as people keep discovering that,
Yeah.
Well, I think, because of the nature of how music's consumed and the sort of disposableness of society now, it's like returning to this sort of love of the
tangible
object.
medium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to be able, if you're the person that likes to open up the liner notes and dig into the credits and look at the lyric sheet and get into the artwork, then vinyl is the ultimate sort of sexy time for you. You get to have your intimate time with the record.
You spend time with it.
Yeah,
I do that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in these days, with the social media, and people want what they want right now, and they need it immediately, and it's
so nice though to turn off the computer and actually hear something.
Yeah, put on a record.
Put on a record, and actually
go
really
turn it
listen
over.
to it. I love that. I love that feeling.
It's great, yeah, and it's broken up too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's one side, it's another side, and you can kind of take a break, and it's good stuff. More Than Just a Dream is the album. It's coming out in May.
May 7th.
May 7th.
And I think we're doing something special for Record Store Day to just tie in back to the vinyl.
Oh, excellent.
We're doing a super limited edition 10-inch of...
Hot pink.
No, that one's actually clear vinyl.
Oh, that's a clear vinyl.
So many things happening.
You can see through it. And that's going to be Out of My League, which you guys are playing, and then another great song on the record called Spark.
Excellent. And that's, I believe Record Store Day is April 20th this year.
I'm looking at the powers that be, and they're nodding yes.
He says yes.
I like that. Top of my head. I'm doing what I can. Fitz and the Tantrums, thanks for coming to Live 105 and chatting with us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Appreciate it. Cool.
More than just a dream.